Welcome back to Kids Planning. I'm Jared, and today I'm going to be talking about Between Two Castles, the Secrets and Soirees expansion, specifically the solo mode of it. So Between Two Castles is a tile-laying game for 2 to 7 players from Stonemaier and Bezier Games. In Between Two Castles, you're making 2 different castles, one with the player on your left and one with the player on your right. You're making these castles by laying tiles around the throne room, and at the end of the game, you score different rooms based on what tiles are around them. So right here, for this room, the story room, I would score 4 points because right here it says 1 point per tile surrounding this. But today I'm reviewing the expansion to Between Two Castles called Between Two Castles Secrets and Soirees. Secrets and Soirees as 1 more player and 1 less player, which means that you can play 1 to 8 players. In this video, I'm going to focus mainly on the solo mode of Secrets and Soirees. There are actually 2 different ways to play solo: the regular solo mode, where you play with 2 AIs, and the introvert variant. Introvert just means solo, basically. And in that, you play against an NPC. For everyone who doesn't know what an NPC is, because I didn't when Daddy first told me that it was an NPC, NPC means non-player character, so a player that's not an AI, but it's not a person. The regular solo mode of Between Two Castles is like a normal 3-player game, but you're playing with 2 AIs, Roberta von Links and Roberta von Retz. Links means left, so he's on your left, and Retz means right, so he's on your right. You work with von Links to make Linkstein, and you work with von Retz to make Retzburg. Both AIs work together to make a castle called Roberg. Roberg has a throne room in the setup to find the favorite tile types, but is taken away and replaced by this base during setup. The base is right here, and this is the throne room. You use the throne room to find the favorite rooms, which are right there. So you would place the green castle there on the living room, and the yellow castle there on the sleeping room. And then you just take that out of the setup. Instead of placing tiles around the throne room, since there isn't a throne room, you place them in their designated columns. So I would place this living room right there, and this room right here, instead of just placing them around a throne room like that. So this solo mode is really different from the multiplayer mode of Between Two Castles because everyone chooses 1 at a time, and you draw AI cards so that the AIs choose the tiles to place. So for this AI card, first you would do the one, this 0 with a square means that you would choose the tiles in this that it has the least of in Roberg. This one means the most of, so you would do least of and then the one that it has the most of, which is kind of confusing to have them in order. And then if there's more tiles than just 1, you do the tile tiebreaker, which means you just count the tiles that are available until you get to 7. And then you would just do that and choose that tile to put in Roberg. So for this card, I would do the least of, which would be what it has the least of in this. So that would be these few things. So that would mean I'd do that one and that one, but none of these, so those go down there. And then since there's 2 of them, I do the most of, but they're both the same. So I do the tile tiebreaker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then I place that right there and put this one right back here. And you also choose the tiles that the AI places in Linkstein and Retzburg. Even though it's different, I think it's my favorite solo mode because of how it plays. Even though you're working on castles normally, it gets really interesting when the AIs choose tiles. Then they take the tile you chose for them. So normally at the beginning, instead of just placing the tiles here, you choose 2 tiles. You use the white castle and the blue castle, and you choose 1 tile for it to go on. So I could choose that one and that one. And then I draw a card. So in this case, it has a blue castle at the bottom. So if the castle that's right here, if the castle shown here isn't taken already, then whoever it is, Links or Retz, would take it for their castle. So if this was Von Link's turn, then Von Links would take this one. But if this was taken, then he would just take the other one because they both can't take 2 tiles for that spot. So I love how that mechanic was added to the game, so the AI chooses some of the tiles they place, but you also help them place the tiles. In the introvert variant, you're making your own castle and playing against Roberta von Roberg, who's making the same type of castle that the AIs made in the regular variant. One of the biggest differences with this, instead of the base game, is that instead of having 2 rounds, where in each round you have 1 hand of 9 tiles, you instead have 1 round with 8 hands of 5 tiles. Sometimes when you say it, it rhymes, I've realized. And this is basically how you set it out, just in this order. Then you mark a good tile and use an AI card to have Roberta choose a tile. So I set out these 5 tiles. They are a hand that's just out there for everyone to see, since really you're the only one seeing it. And there. And then to choose a tile, it's basically a tile that you think is good, but also that Roberta could use. So I think one of the best tiles here for me and for Roberta, which isn't really easily to see since we just started the game, is that one. So I place that there, and then I draw an AI card, and now the only things you focus on is the tile tiebreaker and that if you're using the expansion. So the tile tiebreaker is used, basically you just choose the ones that Roberta has the most of, but under 5, and if none of them are like that, then you just use all tiles. And in this case, none of them are over 5, so they're all under 5, so they're all chosen. And I use the tile tiebreaker, which is 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Roberta chooses the kitchen, which goes right there. And then if Roberta didn't take the tile you marked, like this, since Roberta didn't take that tile, then I take that tile instead. So I would have to put this tile somewhere, and I think the best spot would be right there, since I get 2 points for that. And then if Roberta did take the tile that you marked, so if Roberta took this tile instead, then I just take a random tile from here. So I guess I would take that one. And what I like about this variant is that you're working on your own castle. So normally you would think that you would know what to expect, but because of how the game works, you don't know what to expect. I think it's because Roberta may take a good tile you choose, but if he doesn't, then you take it instead. Like, if you just choose a bad tile that you think Roberta will take, and then you draw the card, and Roberta doesn't take it, you have to take that bad tile. So you need to be really careful with what you're doing. I also like how the game still has some suspense of what tile is going to be taken. This is just a really fun game, and I think it's one of my favorite tile laying games, because it's just like a surprise of what the other player is going to play, and if you're playing with the solo, it's a surprise of what the AI is going to take, because normally AIs aren't smart, but honestly, you're probably going to lose the first game you play of this. It takes a while to master it, and the AIs are smarter than they seem. And it's just a super fun game. If you like tile laying games and puzzle games, this is definitely a game you're going to want to look at. This game also comes with some new rooms and a few other new things that it adds to the game, but my parents are going to cover that in another review for the multiplayer mode and just the base game. And just keep an eye out for that, but if it's already out by the time you're watching this, we'll have a link in the description. And while you're down there, be sure to subscribe right here and watch our other videos over here. See you later. Bye!